Hey, welcome back. So now we're going to be working with a 3-point room interior, and this time we're going to be working from worm's eye view. So we're going to be looking up, and the rate of our head tilt is going to be 33 degrees. So we're going to be looking up 33 degrees at an interior structure, and this is what we're going to recreate. This is the notes. So it's like we're looking up into a raised room, perhaps in an office space or outside on the street looking up at an office building. So we're going to see underneath, we're going to see the ceiling, the left and right walls. We're going to grid that, and we're going to put some support beams just so that it makes a little bit more sense that it's not floating in kind of a spaceship way, although you could do that. And then we're going to throw over some tracing paper, and we're going to put a figure in, and we're going to put some boxes in. We'll do a better job. These are my quicker notes, but that's what's coming up. So worm's eye view, looking up 33 degrees, and we'll probably do again a perfect cube type room, so all sides will be equal. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started getting our setup and then locating our measuring points as well. So I'll go ahead and measure and start getting our horizon line in. That'll be 4 inches down from the very bottom of the paper. And again, I'm at 18 by 24 inch piece of paper, so I'm going to go 4 inches from the bottom, make a mark up there at 4 inches over here, right? And then come on over with my horizon line right down the middle. So there's the horizon line. Of course, we'll be off that horizon line pretty shortly with a 33 degree head tilt. And then we'll set up here with our center of vision at 12 inches in, because we're at 24 across. I just put it halfway across. There's 12. Now you could change that if you want. It doesn't have to always be there. But in your actual visual, your setup, your four fundamental setup, your center vision is always in the center. Why? Because it's right between your eyes. So you can't get away from that. FYI. All right, so let's put our center of vision up at 90 degrees straight up, and we'll thrust it all the way up. I'm going to go ahead and go all the way up, and then to reach the top of the paper, and then kind of go off. And I really don't need to bring it down any further than the horizon line. So there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to set our rate of head tilt at 33 degrees. So remember, we're at worm's eye view, 33 degree head tilt. Let me write that over here. I'll put that over here. I think that'll be out of the way. So we're at worm's eye view, W-E-V, worm's eye view at 33 degree head tilt. And I'm going to try to put, again, our vertical station point far enough out so we get a pretty open cone. So the vertical vanishing point will be quite high up. So I'll put my protractor down along the horizon line, the center vision. I'll line those up and then find 33 degrees out here. So we'll come along this stage. We have 30 here, and then we have 31, 32, 33 right there. So I make a mark there, and then from that point I can come out, take a hard edge ruler, and then line up from the center of vision, horizon line, center point out to that little point, and then thrust a line all the way out. And that gives me now a nice clear rate of head tilt that we can work with our vertical station point and also our vertical vanishing point. So we've got that. You should, if you've been working with me now in all the formal linear perspective lessons, number one, congratulations, you're awesome, because this can be hard stuff, but it's so instructive for your future drawing training and practice. So those of you that are doing this, that are pre-college going on, or you're a continuing adult, you have another career and you love drawing and you want to do that, that's great. I do that too as well in other areas. Now I'm a professional visual artist in my own right. I have exhibitions across the United States, hopefully internationally soon. And I'm a professor So I have a full teaching load, and that entails service across the university. But you know what? I also love to play music, and I play guitar, and I study music. Now, am I as accomplished musician as I am a visual artist? By no means. And the reason why, one of the reasons why is I came to it later than drawing and painting, and I don't have as much time in my learning structures. There's still things that I'm learning with music that I've already accomplished in the visual arts. So I have that going too as well, but it's a secondary kind of thing. And so if drawing is secondary, then take it slow. Be patient with yourself and let it come as it is. But if you're pre-college and you want to go on and be very serious very early on, pre-teen, teen, etc., then this stuff is for you. So that's my little spiel there, is that everybody has a little bit different take to it, and that's totally fine. So we want to establish the vertical station point and our vertical vanishing point, and we want to get that vertical vanishing point on the piece of paper but close to the edge so we can open up our cone as much as we can. The further the vertical station point is away from the center of vision, the larger the cone is. So what I can do, and we know it's a 90-degree setup, so here's my vertical station point about right here, and my vertical vanishing point is still going to make it on the paper. That's great. So here's my vertical station point. There's my 90-degree relationship coming up because I've got my 45, 45, 90. There's my VST, and now I have my vertical vanishing point, right? VVP. Here's my VST. That's our little bitty person, us there. And then, of course, we can come on over and then also get our eye line in. So now we have a new eye level line. We're not here. We're here now. That's going to be a 33-degree head tilt. Okay, that's important to know. So there's our vertical station point, and that's our person, our little bitty person of us looking up and out at 33 degrees. Okay, so now we need a left vanishing point and a right vanishing point. So what I'm going to try to do is recreate as close as I can to here. So what I'll just do is measure, since three of these can be random, I'll just measure from my center point along the horizon line out to my left vanishing point. We can use that one, and that will give us the right vanishing point. It might be a little bit different because our vertical vanishing point might be a little bit closer or further away. So I'm going to measure in from the left vanishing point to my center of vision point here, not the red dot, but the other one right through there, and that is 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sixteenths. So if it's 7 and 3/8 for yours, that's fine. So I'm going to say 7 and 5 sixteenths. So I'm going to come across here, measure over. Here's my center point, 7 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there, double check it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it. Boom. There's my left vanishing point. LVP right there. Okay, so remember we need that construction line from the left vanishing point through the vertical vanishing point. And there's my first pencil point that breaks. Excellent. I'll get that out of the way early, because remember, it wouldn't be a video lesson by Professor Marc without breaking a lead, of course. All right, what a legacy I'm leaving with broken leads. Okay, so there we go. So now I need that construction line from the vertical vanishing point through the left vanishing point. The reason why is we're going to use that later on. Get that a little tighter there. Get that a little bit. Sometimes those rotors get so long they get flimsy in one end. All right, because we need that construction set up for our 90-degree relationship. Remember, through that construction line, right through the center of vision, or new center of vision, across the eye line, right? 90-degree, right through there. So here's our 90-degree relationship. We're all about 90-degree triangulation through that construction line all the way over until it reaches the horizon line right there. Bingo. And there's your right vanishing point, RVP, right vanishing point. Then we've got to continue on by bringing that construction line from the right vanishing point through the vertical vanishing point. You all know how to do this now. You've done this enough, right? And then, of course, we need to swing it or construct it back over through the center of vision point, right? Line it up on that construction line, on the right vanishing point line, through our center of vision line. That's going to take us right to our left vanishing point. We know this because we know the lines, and we've done this plenty of time. Through there, and we line up, and there we go. Look at that magic, right through the left vanishing point. Okay, so we've got our basic setup here. Let's put our cone in so we know where our distortion will occur. Remember, it's our 30 degree cone, so a total of 60. So from our vertical station point, we align here along the eye line, the new eye line. That's going to be slightly above the horizon line here. I'll make a mark that's 30 degrees. Go ahead and draw that out. Same thing here, coming up and over. You've done this already. Up and through. Right there, I'll make a mark. That'll help set us up for our cone. So we can draw our 60-degree cone in. Here we go, and we'll lay in our compass. Nice. Here we go. Works pretty well. There we go. And we have a nice, pretty fat cone there to work our drawing into. Okay, so we've got that. Now let's get our 45-degree measuring points. Okay, remember we're going to be first, we're going to swing, right? Then we're going to construct a 90-degree angle, then we're going to project to 45, okay? And it's a little bit different because we're just upside down from if you're used to doing it more in bird's eye view. Get used to doing it in both because you'll need both at certain times. All right, so remember that from our first construction is from our center point here, the horizon line center point. From the vertical station point, we're going to swing that over to the center of vision. So what we'll do is we'll just take a piece of scratch paper handy here, and we'll set up our swing. We call it a swing. It's just moving this measurement over, but I like to use swing. I've heard that used by my professors before when I was a kid. So we swing over and align that new relationship along our center of vision line. There it is right there. Let's put a dot there. I'm going to put it in red so you can see it. We'll do all our swinging first, and then we'll do our constructions, and then we'll do our 45s. So there's our first one. And then remember, our next relationship is from the vertical vanishing point and the vertical station point swinging. So we take that measurement, okay? If I'm going too fast, always slow me down. You can do that. Here and here, get it right. So we'll take that measurement, we're going to start swinging, okay? So we swing over. When it meets this construction line to the right vanishing point, through the eye line center point, right there, that's where we stop. That's the first place we stop. Make our mark. Make sure it's from the vertical vanishing point. We make our mark there. Then we keep on going, remember, and we hit the other side right there, okay? That means that, let me get it correct, right there. Okay, we just swing it over, vertical vanishing point. We brought this distance to here, we've swung it here and to here, and it hits along that construction line, and there we go. Our swinging is done. So we've got those swinging points, and remember, it hits those construction lines that come at a 90-degree angle from these construction lines through our eye line center point right there. Okay, now let's get our 90-degree relationships mapped in. So let's get our first one here. Remember, that is from our left and right vanishing point. We kind of a line up through, go up to the tip of this, and have the edges hit the left and right. Try to get it as tight as you can. Sometimes if you're off like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch, that happens with rulers, it's okay. That's pretty good right there. There's a good 90-degree relationship. I'll make it red a little stronger. Okay, there's a good 90-degree. That's what we want. That's the first one. This can be a little confusing. Which ones do you go to? If you do it enough, you'll get it. Just remember that for each one, the 90-degree relationship will nestle in right together, and then the tip will hit that point. So this is a 90-degree relationship. I'm touching our measuring first construction part for our measuring point there. And from the right vanishing point, the vertical vanishing point, just work that triangle until you get them set up. Takes a little while. It's about right there. Okay, that's pretty good. See that? There we go. Aligned here, here, and along there. And then we'll just take that angle, that 90-degree construction right there. Okay, now we'll do it on the other side. So we'll line up from that point, vertical vanishing point up here, left vanishing point down below. There we are, and we're on track to get our 90-degree construction. And now we're going to project at 45. Okay, so the 45, now I turn my angle. See how we got our 90 there? Now watch this. That's 90. How do we get our 45? Take your 45-degree angle, line it back on that guide, and hit it through your left finishing point to that point. That's what it's there for. And then that gives you, from this point, we project to the horizon line. I'll do it with the light red line right there. Boom. And where it touches the horizon line, that's your first true 45-degree measuring point. 45-degree MP. And that's how we found it. Remember, we swung over first. So we swung this over here, constructed 90, aligned to 45, and projected. Now we'll do the same thing over here. So we get our 45-degree from our point here along that guideline. You can do it on either side. That's why we do two, just in case. And then we get our 45 set. We project back over, bingo, right there. There's 45-degree measuring point number 2, and I'll just put it in red and kind of give an extra outline. Matter of fact, I'll do all these because that's what we'll be using as diminishment guides and or construction guides here and here. And up at the top, right? And then lastly, we'll use this one now. We'll set up a 45 here along that construction guide right through there. Make sure it hits the vertical vanishing point and the tip here and lined up to that edge. And then we project 45. And then remember, you want to reach that construction line. So this gets a little dicey over here as a review. It's not this one. It's not where the vertical station point is aligned. It's where the right vanishing point and vertical vanishing point construction are aligned because of that 90-degree relationship. That's important. Okay, so there's our last 45-degree measuring point there. Okay, and then for 1.3 point, I don't think I'll put any this time. I think we'll leave that alone. But we could set that up. But I think we'll just leave it without that. Make that a little bit I think easier peasier kind of to work with. Okay, so we have all our measuring points. I think we're good to go. And I think we can start, constructing our room. So I'll take the pencil tip I broke out of the way, throw that around the floor. Okay, and now we'll start constructing our room in earnest. So what we've got to do is we've got to build an entire cube first, and then we'll take away the left and right front of the room. We'll take those two walls, we'll take them off so we can actually see inside them, and then we'll grid all of this bottom, left, right, and also the ceiling, since we see that, so we can get all kinds of exact measurements if you want. And then we'll put our pillars down too as well. All right, so how do you do that? Well, you want to think about cube placement, and sometimes that's a little bit hard to get it all in. I wish I could get this down a little bit lower, so I'm going to try that a little bit to see if that's going to work out. And we're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 units. This will be like an 8 unit by 8 unit by 8 unit cubic kind of interior room. And what I look for is this front plane here to set in, which is going to help me with my 45-degree measuring point. So let me talk about and demonstrate that so you can actually see that. So let me put my notes to the side a little bit, and then let's come in. Let me start coming in now a little bit further so we can get a steadier look-see of what we got. Now, I'm going to come in deeper. Just realize, I think hopefully those of you that have been going through all this is that you'll know when you're aligned to left, right, or some of the measuring points. I'll say that. I think I can get some of that in. I can't get it all, but I want to get this deeper in. So just be careful of that. Just make sure that when I'm talking about, hey, if I'm using the vertical vanishing point, that means my ruler is right on it. There's no really place else I could go actually to as well. So what we want to do arbitrarily, we set in our cone. We want to set that front corner of our cube in our room, and I'm going to put it a little bit off center from our center of vision, and this really gives you your height of your room, whatever equality that you want to the look of your cube. And I'm going to change ours a little bit. I want to get the entire ceiling in. That means that we'll be looking underneath the floor a little bit more with less vision there. It'll be a little bit thinner to the horizon line. So what we'll do here is we'll say, bear with me here, I'm going to say that the corner of our cube, I'll start here, and then I'll raise it up to about right in here. Okay, now I'm going to lighten this up a little bit later because we're going to draw a cube first. Okay, so this is going to be the front of our cube, this line in here, through here, from here to here. So kind of mimic that as close to me as you possibly can. And then I'm going to go ahead and project back to the left vanishing point diminishment lines here and also here, and then also to the right really quickly, to the right vanishing point. Okay, so I'm still in the camera there. Here, and also diminishment to right here. Now we can start using our 45-degree measuring points. Okay, we've got to use the bottom. We can't use the top. So we're in worm's eye. Really, rule of thumb: you want to start using your measuring points from the bottom, the point of your cube that's closest to the horizon line. So if we flipped it upside down, it would be the top of the cube. Here's the bottom. That's just really important to know. All right, so now we're going to go from the center point here along the corner of our room or our cube back to our 45-degree measuring point. So I'm going to thrust it on through, bingo, right in through there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, right in through there. And I don't use in these first lessons this one as much, but I'll go ahead and project it through there. Now remember, this is where things touch and they're adjacent. So we projected measuring points here and through here and through here. Now watch this. Here's where our cube ends, right there. Remember, we're making a perfect cube for a room, and we're looking up at 33 degrees. So right in through here and through here where they touch, that's where that room, those walls end. So now from this point, I align from my vertical vanishing point up here. You can't see it, but it's aligned to that point. Then we're drawing through down to our diminishment right there. Okay, right in through there. We get that nice and clean. Sorry about that. There we go. That's got to be clean there. Okay. And we'll do, remember, stop along the diminishment line. And from this adjacent point where our measuring point, 45 degrees, we've projected, ends and touches this line for diminishment. That's where we stop. Then from the vertical vanishing point, we come down and stop at this diminishment. And then we can go back to the left and also the right. So from here we go back to the left, and then from here we go back to the right. And look at that. See how they line up with our measuring point here, so we know we were correct. Okay, so now we have a perfect cube in a three-point perspective. Okay, now I know it's a little bit awkward looking, but we have a rate of diminishment going on in head tilt at 33 degrees. So we're going to have a little bit of an issue there in terms of an actual look. There's what am I trying to say here? Well, there's distortion going on. Hello. Okay. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to say, let's go ahead and get our back laid in of our cube. So we're going to, let me tighten this up here a little bit and also here where they fall in together. Now we want to be careful with our vision because we need to get this back part of our cube. So from these points where they touch our measuring point, we go back to the left vanishing point here, follow along I'll throw a diminishment guide out, and then from this corner back to our right, where those two lines meet, right, that's where the end of our cube is, here and here, okay? And then from this point, we go back from the vertical vanishing point down through the corner, and see how they line up there too as well. So that all works out really nicely for us. We don't have to think about it. So there's our back room. Now, this is tricky. I'm going to darken this in, the parts that we're going to see, and I'll show you what I'm talking about after I do it too. So we're going to be seeing this. Remember, we're going to take out the front left wall and the front right wall because we want to see into that room. We want to be omniscient somewhat. We want to be able to see. Okay, so we have here, we have there. Okay, we have that. And we have that. Okay. And then we're going to come over here, and then we're going to take on this, and we're going to take here on this and tighten it up. This is everything we've done so far. See how that measuring point just kind of works out for us. So here's our back corner right in through here. This will be a little bit darker through there. So now we have our setup ready to go for our room. Now I've lowered this down a little bit so we can get most of our ceiling in, and so the bottom of the room is going to be slightly thinner out than what we have now. Just keep that in mind. But if you've noticed, we've taken out the left and the right wall because I'm not darkening that in. We didn't grid the front. We're looking at the back left, back right ceiling and the ground underneath. Why? Because we're at 33 degrees worm's eye view looking up. So just keep that in mind. That's important. Okay? So we have that. Now a couple things we want to do is we'll put the pillars on later, but I want to give a little thickness to the floor. I think that's important, which will shrink a little bit of the floor to ceiling distance, but we'll measure through that, I think, a little bit. So I'm just going to make the thickness, about this much for now. I'm just going to get it in already. And so I'm just arbitrarily set that in, okay? Let me raise this up a little bit so I've centered it out a little bit better, okay? So about right here. Now from that point, and that's just an arbitrary decision. All I did was a visual thing. And then I project back to the left vanishing point along here, okay? Then I can take that to the right vanishing point there, okay? Then I can take those points back to the left, seeing through to here, and then also back to the right vanishing point there. So we've got a little bit of a floor thickness. I think that's going to help as well. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is start to grid the room a little bit before we put down the pillars here. So before we put down these concrete pillars, this could be another floor on the bottom stage below. That might have been cool to show. Maybe I'll kind of finish that out later on. We'll see. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pillars. We'll put them on later. The next thing I want to do is grid this room, show you how to do that. The bottom, the sides, the left and right, and ceiling for many number of reasons. Number one is so that you can learn to scale without actually having to do any ruler measuring. And then number two, to reinforce the contouring of these forms, which I think is very important. So the more we do that, the more you get an even stronger sense of space. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lighten up this line a little bit by erasing it some. See how it still shows up, but it's just lighter. I think that's important. You can do that with a lot of this in between here too, if you want. That doesn't hurt. So now we can just use the idea of crossing X's. Let's do the ceiling first. So we'll do a crossing X to find our center there, right, and there. Okay, so we're good to go. So there's our true center now, or our center in perspective actually, from there. And then we'll go through, use the left vanishing point to, left vanishing point to come through there. There's a center for a tile. Then we can do the same thing on the other side, the right vanishing point. We can go a little darker so we can see that. So I draw my centering X's pretty light, and then I get darker when I start drawing in the tiles. So we'll do 8, okay? So we'll find another center here, and another center here. Sometimes you just really just need one. So here's another center point we can use through there. There's another set. And then we can go the opposite way. From this center point, right, back to the left finishing point. If I go too fast, slow me down. Pause me until you can catch back up, okay? This line's a little confusing, I think. It's a little dark, so I'm gonna erase it a little bit. That's one of our center line points coming through. There we go. All right, so let's find a center here. And through there, there's another one. We can go back from the right vanishing point through here, okay? So now we have, here's another center point there. We have 4 sets of tiles. For a lot of people, that could be enough. But let's go ahead and do 8, because we can. There we go. So when you start to have some crossing lines, you can just find one there, right? There's another center point. So from the right vanishing point through that gives us another set. Okay. We'll find a crossing X through here, right through there. That gives us another set through there. Okay. And we can obviously come the opposite way too. Don't forget about that. Through that center point, through there. I'm going faster, I know. Slow me down. We've done this before. Through here. There we go. Coming through. Also, there's our, is that truly our center point? Let's see. We could cross it over just to be on the safe side, right in through there. There's another set. There we go. Right in through there. Okay. So how many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need one more. We cross over here. Bingo. There's, whoops. Make sure we get this correct, because that is not the center. Make sure that you pay attention, because I didn't. I have to pay attention too. Can't put it on autopilot. There we go. All right, so we're almost there. We just need to grid off this little part over here, and we'll find another center point here to go back to the right. Right in through there. Right vanishing point coming through. I know I'm going fast. You should know this already. And then our last center point we can find right in through here. Bingo, there it is. And now we've got a grid there to work from right through there. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tiles that way, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tiles that way gives us 64 all the way through. So now what I'll do is I'll darken in a little bit the ceiling line here, this edge boundary to the left wall, to the where the two left and right back come together, and also here. Okay, can do that and that. Now, a couple things you can do easily is just transfer where these points touch along the left plane and the right plane, just downward. Just make sure that you're using and going through the vertical vanishing point. So watch. From the vertical vanishing point up here, I'm touching that, down, moving it all the way through. I can go darker here, but I'm going to go lighter all the way through. Go all the way through there. So darker here, because we're seeing that, but then it's lighter because it's going to be more indivisible here. Excuse me, invisible here. I'll get my language correct in a moment. There we go. Here, coming through, and a little bit lighter. See what I'm doing there? Okay, and then through here. There we go. Darker and then a little bit lighter through, because we can see everything, and then later on we can hide that a little bit. Through there, and all the way through, and then darken in to that point, and then one more. Okay, right through there. There we go. And let's do the same thing now on the other side. Now here's the crease with the left and right plane come together. That's a stronger crease right in through there. And then we can do the same thing now on the other side. We'll just start from this slider corner inside. come through, darker and then lighter. Okay, darker, then lighter. Okay, darker, lighter. All right, darker, then lighter. Darker, and lighter through. Did I break my pencil? I did. There's another one. All right, that's two this time. That might be a new record. I know I used to get one. I don't know if I've gotten two. Probably have. All right, so I'll sharpen that up. That'll slow me down as well. Now we can come back and finish this out. So coming in from the vertical vanishing point through this point, down through, we're just gridding our walls here and then lighter there. Here, darker and lighter. Now we've got that. Now, all right, so how do you get it across opposite? How do you get along here? Just find your centering X point. Remember, from here all the way through down to the corner, okay? There's our one center X, okay? Then find the other side here, bingo. There you go, where they meet. Look at that, right on that line. That's good. Through the left vanishing points. Okay, through here. Stop where it meets that corner. That's important. Right in through there. Then I can use the other side too as well and come back from the right vanishing point on this side. And line that up nice and clean where they meet. There we go. Along the other side, and we're going pretty well here. All right, so continuing on now, let's continue on with our gridding of the left and right wall here. So let's find the center here of this plane by crossing X across here. Keep it light. You can keep your drawing much lighter than mine actually. Mine's a little darker for the camera. So from this corner of this secondary plane, here and here, where they bisect, right there, obviously there's your center, right in that line there in the middle. It works out nicely when the perspective works well. Back to the left vanishing point through here. And then, of course, once we get this here, then we can just take it to the right vanishing point over here from this corner here. That's your plane break of your room. I think we've established that, but it's worth mentioning again and again. Right in through there. So now we can do the same thing down here. And it doesn't matter which side we decide to have a crossing X. Here, of course, or here. And there it is. Comes right through. Now remember, I'm going to draw lighter, excuse me, as we decide that we'll be able to see this. And this disappears underneath that floor, so I'll draw it a little bit lighter. But I want it there, because I want to be able to relate to it later. And then, of course, back through. Here to the edge, and then out, and then it meets the floor level, that thickness, and out through here. We can actually see that, and I'll go a little bit darker. All right, so now we can break up these sections further into more planes, and then get our eight form, our 8 tiles that we want. And so what I'll do is take each one of these simple rectangular planes and find its center, and then through that we can finish the left and right wall out pretty easy. So here and here and here and here. There we go. There we go. And then lastly, all the way through now, there's that thickness through here. It doesn't end at that line, but right through here. Okay, and then on over through this corner, etc. You've got to be able to think through forms too as well. So there we go. So we've got our centers here, 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 and here. Then we go thrust back to our left vanishing point. Okay, here to stop at our plane. Same thing here, left vanishing point, line up that center. There we go. Stop at the plane ending. Here's our center here. There we go. There, and then the last one is right here, down below, and then right through there. Then we'll stop and I'll draw through it. And I just needed to draw through this other one, which I will. And of course we'll stop at the plane break right there. Okay, so there we go, we've got that. And then lastly, whoops, dropped my ruler, excuse me. So now we already have our centers right through here. So we can go through our right vanishing point here, through, out. Remember, we're lined up at the right vanishing point, through that edge here, to there. There we go. Okay. And then we've already got that one. And then this one I forgot to bring it all the way over too. That's why we needed that. So let me go back and practice what I preach right through there. Okay. That just happens to fall along that that floor thickness right through here. Okay. Through the right vanishing point and then out lightly, and then I'll darken it in here. There we go. And then just a few more to do. That one was done already beforehand. And then we've got this one here. Lightly and then out. Whoops, out darker. And there we go. Okay, so we've got now grids to work with throughout the ceiling, the left, and the right wall. But I also want to do the ground plane as well. So we've got some demarcations along the back floor, and we can use those to go ahead and grid the floor up further. Now we could have found a centering X and done it that way, but we've already done some work. We might as well just use it, right? So and we've got our 45-degree angle here. We know that's one of our centering X's that goes back to our 45-degree measuring point. So let me pull in just a little bit now on this floor so you can see this a little bit further. Go in deeper here. There we go. Right there looks good. Let's make sure T-square is nice and aligned to the camera. We don't want to have it like that. That wouldn't be good, right? Okay. So there we are. All right. And now these marks on our back flooring can be brought over. Let's start here. I'll show you from the right vanishing point here, up and over now and through to the flooring here. And we'll continue on that, and I can make those darker because we'll actually see those underneath here. And we'll just keep on going. And through here. And they're going to get tighter and tighter here as we go through and through here. Whoops, there goes another one. That's 3 for this lesson. I must be getting really heavy-handed in my old age. So let me sharpen up here. Part of it's I've got a lighter lead going, so I have to push down even darker. But I want to make sure you see it. That's important. All right, so we have a couple more here. 1, 2 more. Okay. There. And on over. And then one more, I believe, through here. From the right vanishing point on over to there. There we go. We can grid that floor up. And now we can do it on the opposite side from the left vanishing point. So this does get a little confusing. I understand that. So here's what I'm looking for. These points here. I'll make sure that we can see them. There and there. And then we're going to bring those over against this bottom flooring here. Because remember, we're looking up underneath that flooring. So you can measure things up under here, draw your bottom plane of your boxes or figures or whatever, and then draw them up. And you can, to the vertical vanishing point, and you can measure scale on any one of these walls. It really becomes a great scaling tool that you can have. Then, of course, you could go with bigger tiles if you don't want to get so complex, and you can go with smaller tiles if you want to get even more complex. If you wanted to go bigger, this seems plenty for our methods here. All right, so we have one there. Okay. This is all coming out of the left vanishing point here to there. Here's the next one. We're just going after these marks here. Almost done with the room. Hallelujah. There we go. We'll keep on going. From there on over. Okay, just a few. 1, 2 more. It's pretty tight in there. There. And then lastly, one more. There we go. Okay. All right, so there we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in there, through there, and also 8 across too as well. All right, so I'm going to darken in mine this outside edge of the room just a little bit, so we can see that a little tighter, a little cleaner, a little crisper. And we're ready now to draw the pillars of our interior. So I've got our notes here. So these 4 pillars here we can recreate in our drawing. We'll start with the front one, and we can project our little diminishment guide here, sizing over and through to the back one as well. So that way, if we were looking up at a room in a building, it would have some kind of, relative structure underneath it, and it wouldn't be necessarily so floating, kind of like it is now. So I'm only going to show this much of what we're doing, and I'm going to bring it outside the camera just a little bit, and connect it to. I'm just not even going to connect it to the ground. I'm just going to let it float, but I am going to break the horizon line coming down. So the first thing I'm going to do is just start from the corner, from the vertical vanishing point up above. Make sure and just start and project out. Okay, and I think we'll just use a whole column here, tiles worth, and come down from that. So again, from the vertical vanishing point through this point of the first tile here. Remember, that's about a foot, we're going to say a foot or 2 feet depending upon your scale. Then right through here we'll come down from the vertical vanishing point out and down. Of course, they get wider as they come down a little bit, which is natural. And of course the back rung is here. I'll just draw that lightly down through. There we go. So we have that, and then we can plot our next one here. Okay, that's important. So we have our front corner here, a little bit different viewpoint, coming down and out through. Okay, now we can find up and over where that tile ends, the side, in through here. There we go. Out and downward in through here. Okay, and we come in with our thickness here, right in through here. There we go. And we go down. And then that tile sits, just remember it comes in back to the left, so right in through there. Okay, and in the back, if I do it smaller, lighter, because we're having to see through it, right in through there. So there's our second pillar. We're not going to see any of the back pillar, so congratulations, we won't do that. I'll save you a little bit of headache. And we won't do that. That'll be a little bit nicer right in there. The other sketch we saw a little bit to the left. And then lastly, from this side, here's the corner part of the column in our tile. We'll bring that down. Nice and a little bit darker, right? And then over here is where the tile ends, coming to the right, out of the left vanishing point. And then follow the vertical vanishing point downward. Okay, down and out there. And then following along through here, the tile right in through there. That's where we need. Then from the vertical vanishing point, downward. And then the back part of that column is there. And I'll draw that lighter. Right in through there. And there we go. So just remember that tile is here. And then we get some pretty extreme perspective there going back to the left vanishing point. So it looks more rectangular than what it normally would do. And so there we go. So we have now our room set in at 8 feet by 8 feet. And what we've accomplished here is 3-point perspective at 33 degrees head tilt looking up. So that's important to realize and understand. So we're in worm's eye view and we're looking up. Now I'm going to continue to thicken up this floor a little bit, make a couple more passes with the line, because we want to make sure that those show through. It can be a little deceiving if we don't, and confusing to those of you that are a little bit newer to this process. So we don't want to be confusing. We want to be clarifying, get you more clear in your thinking. And it's because it's very, very much a visual, intellectual understanding of this. It's not just a bunch of lines, right, randomly, but it has a purpose. So we're at 33 degree head tilt, looking up. It's our new eye line right here. Okay. So now I'm going to take tracing paper and we'll lay it over here when I come back, and then we'll add boxes and we'll add a little figure looking up at a figure. I'll show you how to kind of think about that now. With a 33 degree tilt, we can use cylinders to help us with that guide. We'll make a 6 foot tall figure. Okay, so let me come right back. I'll get some tracing paper and we'll go to it. Hey, I'm back now and I've got my tracing paper, right? I'm going to tape it over. I'm going to keep this plugged in pretty tight here. So we'll tape it down. If you have tracing paper, great. If not, if you have a computer to use, great, in terms of Photoshop or a Wacom tablet to do layers, that's great too. But it just kind of expedites the process with tracing paper, kind of kicking it old school, which is cool too. We'll call this the Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin approach, those of you that know what I'm talking about. If you don't, that's a little bit of American culture. When we kick it, we say old school, it's kind of 1940s, 50s, 60s, Las Vegas actors, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin. Who am I missing? Sammy Davis Jr., of course, and others who were called the Rat Pack and who had an elegant singing, acting kind of career. We call it old school. A little bit of American trivia if you're not, if you don't know about that. If you do, I just probably bored you. Okay. I didn't think I'd be talking about that this morning. All right, so we want to start making some forms, some box forms. I'm going to leave our composition a little bit slightly open over here so we can put a 6 foot tall figure in through here. Now, something to realize, we've got an elevation to our floor a little bit. So just remember that, for instance, if one of these tiles is 1 foot, I'm down right here thinking, then this, if we put a centering X here, just to show you my thinking, this floor thickness all the way through here to here, here's a centering X, right? And then I'll come over from the right vanishing point to here, that's half of that. So this is probably 1/3 of a half there of a foot. So that's probably about, this floor thickness is, that's 1 foot, which is 12 inches. That's probably about 4 or 5, well, 4 inches thick all the way across. Just be mindful that we have to add 4 inches to our heights if you want a real close scale. We're just going to be approximate and have fun with it. But when you need to be more hardcore, which you might have to be later on, just remember adding that thickness. Or you could add, later on, you could have added the thickness underneath it as well. Just a couple of possibilities, you know, to think about too. Okay, so let's go after about 3 or 4 boxes and a figure, and we will be done with this particular lesson, right? Okay, so got my blue pencil, got my red pencil here. I'll use my red pencil and my blue pencil. I used to use the ones with the wood, and I just got, that had the red and the blue. It just got so hard to sharpen. I just got tired of it. I really like these Progresso pencils because they're a little bit easier to sharpen, and they're kind of all waxy, which is kind of cool most of the time. Okay, so let's start by putting a couple of boxes in. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to lay down their front plane some, or their bottom plane, and we can do that a little bit on the floor as well. We can say, hey, what do we want our box size to be? Because we have a slider view of that floor, which is a little bit more difficult. So we'll put a box here in this starting in this front corner. We'll start from this tile here. That's 1 unit, 1 foot, and we'll go maybe 3 feet over. So we can go 1 unit to the left, and then 3 feet, 1, 2, 3 over here. And so going from the right vanishing point, I can say, okay, here's my demarcation. Now, these follow along the floor very nice and neat, right? Don't they? Well, life doesn't always wind up like that. Most of the times it doesn't. So later on, you can be off this grid quite freely, liberally, if you want. And you can guesstimate, because you've got tiles, how much these boxes, how big they are. And so we'll make this box as tall as we want. I'm just going to shoot up to the vertical vanishing point a little bit. Now, if I really want to figure out how tall this box is, so I can come across here and say, okay, we can go up 1 tile, 2 tiles. We'll just make it 2 tiles roughly high, but we need about a third because of the floor, so about a third more would be right there. So this will be about 2 units high. Then from the left finishing point, we'll project a diminishment line up a little to there, and I've got to reach that from here. Okay, there we go, and up. So that's 2 units high. Is that right? Yeah, so it's 1 unit, 2 units, and a quarter more. That's going to get us about 2 units, and then up from the floor here up to the vertical vanishing point, and then we'll attach it there, and then we'll come from this corner up to the vertical vanishing point. You can't see the vertical vanishing point, it's way up there, but you know it's locked in. If you've gotten this far, you know what you're doing. Okay, and then so from this corner we'll go back to our right vanishing point. Okay, it's not a perfect cube box, so FYI, right in through there. And so now we could do the back of the box too, but I think I'll just leave it off. We've got enough lines. So there's your first 3 points box in this room. Interior, I'll make it a little bit darker, and then we'll outline it in blue right at the end. Now, it's sitting down on the floor, actually right here. Okay, that's a 4-inch thick, roughly, concrete floor. So it's shorter than we've drawn it. But we drew it from the bottom to get some scaling and to figure out where it was at spatially in here. That will help us also not run a box into another box. We can use that down and through here. Now, I mean, you can do this freehand too and keep it looser and quicker and sketchier. I could come back and say, oh, hey, I want a box in through here, and I could sketch that in, etc. Why don't I do that a little bit in terms of just show you. And so I'm thinking about, okay, I want to put this box off the wall a little bit, and I don't want to run into that. So I'll work the bottom first. I'll think, okay, back to the left vanishing point, back to the right vanishing point. I'm not going to worry about the tiles. Back to the left, over through here, back to the right, over here, through here. Then I'm going up to the vertical vanishing point. I'm going to make this a much taller box. I'm going to freehand this in through here. This one comes up to the vertical vanishing point. Then I probably want to make it maybe this tall. Then I come back to the right vanishing point, real quick freehand, back to the left vanishing point, and then downward to this point up to the vertical vanishing point. And there's going to be my taller, thin box, very roughed in. Now I can take that idea and let's tighten it up with perspective. And it's probably, I'm guessing, roughly about 1.5 units by 1.5 units, because I've got my scaling down there, but it's not perfect, and it's fine. I know I'm in the ballpark. All right, so there's my corner, back to the right, and then from this corner back to the left. Tighten that up about that length. Okay, see the difference? And then from this corner back to the right vanishing point, I'll diminish and overdraw, and then from this corner back to the left. I'm going faster. Slow me down if you need to. It's totally fine. There we go. Okay. All right. And now here we'll go up to the vertical vanishing point. Okay, here. Up to the VVP, about right in through here, and I'll stop that. Make that a little darker so we can see that. Okay, there we go. Now remember, these boxes won't touch. There's a distance between them. on that flooring. Now we'll go from this front corner back to the left vanishing point. I'll overdraw a little bit. And then from this bottom corner up to the vertical vanishing point, connect to my box here. Got a little bit of space I need right in through there. There we go. Okay, that's it. And then from the front corner back to the right vanishing point through here. There we go. And then from this corner to here up to the vertical vanishing point, let's tighten that edge. It comes in very much deeply. See how much deeper that comes in? There we go. And there we go. There's my box. So let me erase a little bit this overdraw here so you can see that. So I did that freehand a little bit to get an estimate of where I want it, and notice how much I had to tighten that up off of. That's pretty interesting how inaccurate we can be, and then perspective can tighten things up a little bit. You can kind of sketch and use a ruler too, or use a hard edge and work those together. So now we'll cut this box off here, right, because this is where it actually touches the floor. So it's shorter, a little bit shorter by 4 in our scaling, 4 feet. Yes. So we cut it off there. That'll work there. And let's see, that's all we need right in through there where it touches it, that comes over and in. So there we go there. There's our second box. You know, it's a little bit taller than there. So if we projected it back over and through this box, it's probably going to be about, I don't know, how many more units taller than coming through over here. Probably about 4, almost 4 units tall. Which works out pretty nicely, a little bit different box. So let's put one more, let's put it over here in this area, and we'll kind of project it up. And let's make it, let's use, let's bring it off this corner a little bit. Let's plot this out. So we'll kind of bring it in 1 over. And then maybe 1, 2 units. We'll make it 2 by 1 as well. Right through here, so, and then this unit to that unit. There we go. So I'm going to plot that on that flooring in there, like so. And then I'll tighten it up and I'll show you. Brought it over. So essentially it's 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th tile halfway through, and then 1 over to the right. So halfway through and then 1 over to the right to find that front corner base. And then from the left vanishing points over here. Right vanishing points come through, pretty simple procedure there, and then back to the left, and then we've completed the rectangular base on the flat base on the ground there. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. There we go. A little thickness. It's a little bit wonky there. There we go. All right, so now we can bring up our vertical from our bottom corners up to the vertical vanishing point. We can make it kind of as high as we want. We want to keep it in the room a little bit. So we plot back to this corner here, right? This corner here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We make it 7 units tall. So I found 7 units tall, and then I can project from the left vanishing point up and through to give a construction line, diminishment line, so I can bring that height all the way up and through to the vertical vanishing point right there. There's our height. Okay, so pretty tall box, roughly 7 minus 4 inches, so 6 feet 8 inches. Okay, and then from our corner here out to the vertical, up to the vertical vanishing point, all the way up till it meets this edge here. There we go. So that kind of abuts like so. But there's space in between these boxes. They're pulled off. So let's tighten up this plane so we can see it and read it here. Okay. And also here. I'm going to tighten it up there, but also to the floor. There. These kind of come together. That actually goes slightly behind, which is cool. And here's our flooring where it truly sits, right through there. Okay. So it's not quite as tall as you think, but this grounding gives us our helping guide. And then from the vertical vanishing point up, I'll just overdraw. And then from that corner, that's right, back to the right vanishing point. There we go. Okay. And then we'll tighten it up. So we have 3 boxes now. 2 of these are taller. So this was, I projected from the very bottom 7 units up, but we have to take off 4 inches from the floor up. So we cut off 4 inches. That makes that about 6 feet, 8 inches tall worth of box. That's worth noting. You have to do that little extra subtraction there to make this work. You're scaling right. So let's put now our last one, and I'll outline these in blue later, but let's put in and finish this out nice. So let's put a figure here. And let's make the figure just a basic figure here, 6 foot tall, okay? And let's put that figure kind of on the edge over here. He's on the edge, right? And let's make the figure 6 foot tall. So let's figure out a line here that we need. So, and we're going to plot from the very bottom. We're going to put this figure right here on this corner tile, right in through here, okay? And so from the vertical vanishing point, I'm going to go up. Just draw a line, a nice line, go through everything, okay? Then we're going to plot his height. So if we go from this corner, all right, back over to the corner here, the very corner, and then go up 6 units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's 6 right there. But remember, we're plotting from the very bottom. He's sitting on 4 inches up, so we've got to go about, you can kind of just figure 1/3 of that. So the 1/3 is about right there. So that's another 4 inches. Okay, so from that point, now we're going to project or line up our ruler and project that over. That's where he would be right there. That's 6 foot tall right there. 6 foot tall woman, or let's draw a woman. How about that? We'll put a 6 foot tall lady there. And so now I'm projecting from the very bottom. So I'll draw a darker red line through here, and then we'll draw her in blue so we can see it. So that's 6 feet tall. Remember, this was about 6 feet 8 inches pushed back forward and up a little bit. So it's going to appear slightly a little bit taller, which it does too as well, because it is about 4 inches taller than she is. So remember, we have to subtract that extra distance, that 4 inch or that 1/3 of space from that thickness of the floor. That's important to notice or note and think about. All right, so roughly, and I haven't gone through a lesson yet in figure and with the figure in perspective. So this can be kind of a quick little study of that, a crash course. And I think what's really important here with this particular part of the drawing, I'm going to bring this over a little bit. Maybe I'll come in just slightly too, a little bit further. There we go. Is that we can base everything kind of really off a cylinder. So if I did something over here, actually let me do it in scratch paper. I kind of have it with this figure here, but essentially what's going to happen is we're going to have that projection like that, and then we're going to be drawing the figure forms as, really, I think of them as boxes again, or cylindrical projections in this case. So that's, believe it or not, that's the head, and then the shoulders, neck could come off, the shoulders will start to overlap over, because remember, we're looking up at this figure. They're going to get a little bit wider as they start to come forward to us. And then of course we'll have the eye line here, a bottom of the nose line, bottom of the mouth, a little bit of ear, and of course we could put, later on, we could put hair, etc., and so on. So they're going to be and look at a very overlapped and foreshortened kind of perspective. All right, so let's put just a basic concept of a figure. Remember, she's at 6 foot tall. And so the features of the figure as you're drawing it, they also get larger and wider as we start to get further down the form of the model too as well. So we'll have her here. And let's see, we have very basic kind of figure here, maybe just kind of the torso coming out a little bit naturally in through here. So we'll have that. We'll have the waist, and then we're going to start getting wider pretty quickly as she starts to come down even further through there. It's kind of the chest area. We'll have just put a kind of a skirt or dress on. I think that's okay to do. Through here, and in through here, I'm going from the vertical vanishing point. Now a skirt could come down maybe this way a little bit. It'll be a longer skirt for obvious reasons. Okay, and then we can kind of take this skirt. It's kind of a bell-shaped kind of form through here. Okay, so we have that, and then we'll put down little shoulders, hair. This is pretty crude, but nothing fancy. Nothing fancy here. So I'm just getting back to the vertical vanishing point, and we can put her maybe one hand on a hip and then one hand just kind of relaxing leisurely sort of here. There we go. Kind of the front collar, and then if we kind of saw through a little bit where the pelvic region would be, it was something like that just to help us, because the legs would then come down, and we would not see the feet. Now she would get a natural indentation from the legs coming in, and then we might see something where the skirt comes over through here, and then the legs come back and over, and we probably would not see the shoes at all because of the floor would be covering up. So let's see if I can make this head a little bit better. This is a stronger curve, and through here, stronger curve for the neck. There we go. Okay, not too bad. Crude, but not too bad. Doesn't have to be too special. So we've got that figure sitting up there in our composition. Now remember, we're looking up at her at about really 33 degrees. So there we go. We have her. Let's finish out our boxes. I'll outline these in blue, and if we want, we can shade them in just a little bit. Maybe give her some final touches. So I'm just going to go through and outline all of this now. Darker and more readable. These kind of butt together. This front one's slightly in front here. Okay, and I'm only going to outline now the parts that we see, and then also the parts where they're only on the top level of that flooring. That's important to denote too as well there. Okay, and back to the VVP and up, and then we have this other box and through here. There we go, and up. And from the right vanishing point up and through, and over to the left vanishing point. There we go. All right, so we can say, all right, to make her a little bit cleaner, this is so crude, through here, we can do a little shading. So we'll say let's say the light source is coming from the top left. Over here where my finger isn't shining down, that puts the darker plane on the right side of the boxes, and the figure may be a little bit more shaded, a little bit to the right. We can put everything in a little bit of shading here, and then we can go a little bit darker to everything on the right side of the model a little bit here. So everything I thought about this with this particular little figure, this little sketched in figure, was really a boxy cylinder, just a tube. And we have to look, these ellipses are important because we're looking up underneath her. That's why I didn't want to make, for discretion, a very, very short skirt. That would have been kind of risque, I suppose, a little dodgy. So we made that a longer skirt because of the angle of the head tilt. If we weren't at such a strong head tilt, then it would not have been could have been much of an issue, I suppose. All right, so we have her in there, really crude little figure, and then now we can sketch in. I'll come back out a little bit so we can kind of see it all together a little bit. There we go, just a little bit further, and we can finish out these box forms. So we'll be a little bit darker on the right side, just to give a little shading to the forms a little bit, make them more concrete. And you can give a little bit of light shading if you want to on these, on the lighter side, just to make it a slight difference in value, enough to show off the light situation here. And this one will take the same. Same thing over here. I kind of do them all together sometimes. I should have done the other one all together. In through there. This one can go a step darker or two really quickly. And then lastly with this box and through here. See, I kind of run my ruler too as well, and I'm just lining it up with the vertical vanishing point, and as I go along I just kind of readjust it, and it shades it in a planar way towards the vertical vanishing point kind of nicely. Looks pretty good. Then I can come back and kind of catch these little extra sections in through there. It kind of keeps a nice sort of balanced sort of craftsmanship thing going in through here. Let's tighten her up a little bit. Put her up into here. Very simple kind of figurine in perspective. There we go. In this room, and she's 6 foot tall. All right, so let's review, and then we can get out of our lesson here. So again, we set up our drawing at 33-degree head tilt. We found our setup, left and right vanishing point, our vertical vanishing point, our vertical station point, right? And then we began to find our 45-degree measuring points to help us give our interior purpose, to make it 8 units by 8 units. And then we put 3 boxes in, and then we put a figure in at 6 foot tall relating to those forms in the box. And so we have our 3-point setup. We used our tracing paper, and then you could, if you didn't like that drawing, I'm not that happy with the figure, but I think it's fine for a demo. And it's just crude. It can be very crude because it can be basically a thumbnail sketch for something much bigger, more dynamic. But we added the tracing paper on top, and you could do different studies with different tracing paper as well. Okay, so there you go. There's your setup. There's your 3-point form. And that concludes kind of section 5, the basics of 3-point. And then further lessons in perspective, we'll go deeper in 1, 2, and 3-point. Get more challenging lessons over time, as well as look at just relaxed perspective, which is also sketching. And then in the future, you can expect lessons on cast shadows, reflections as well. You can actually get those lined in and quite well in perspective too. Okay, there you go. I'll see you next time, and take care out there, and have fun drawing. Keep on drawing. Let me know how you're doing too as well. Okay, see ya. Bye-bye.